starting to go downhill as the second half begins. Downhill on multiple levels. Personal situation, I don't know. Speak on it.
Yeah, it's like you, at the top of the hill, there's one of those giant tires. You just put me in the tire, I keep rolling, and probably right off a cliff into the sea.
Although if you count the playoffs, we're still going up.
Don't tell Mark that. I'm trying to get him in good spirits. It's the weekend.
You were helping me, you were not.
All right, this is the show. This is what we do. It seems dumb, doesn't it? You may know us from the Around the NFL podcast, which you can check out 4 times a week, including Sunday night, our flagship program where we recap every game every week. This television show serves to, listen, talk about every team, all 32 teams, 2 minutes, some less. But if you have less than 2 minutes, you've earned it. We will start today with the AFC North. And Greg, let's start with the team that went down on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I think the Ravens offense has a little bit of a problem, a blitz problem, like a protection problem, a pressure problem for Lamar Jackson. This is a team I'm not like giving up on by any means because they struggled on Thursday night 4 days after they had 88 snaps on offense, or 98 snaps. You think that maybe tired them out? Maybe. So Lamar Jackson is 29th in the league when facing the blitz out of 35 qualifiers, according to PFF. His numbers against pressure this year, not great. And their offensive line is that group that's been banged up throughout the course of the season. They really weren't ready to deal with that pressure that Miami sent them last night.
Yeah, I mean, John Harbaugh said after the game that the plan that they had was not up to par. And he's totally right about that. I mean, the Dolphins use as much cover zero as any team in the league next to the Chiefs. And basically, they put it on Baltimore last night. And I think you're going to see teams do that to Baltimore week after week until Lamar Jackson and the offense can respond appropriately.
And this type of defense they use it all the time. I used to cover high school football. You use it all the time to flummox a young quarterback. You just send everybody at him. And even though, because of zero coverage, there's a very good chance without a safety helping that someone's open streaking down the field. If you're able to get to the quarterback in time, it's kind of impossible to beat. Right. Here's the thing. I mean, this is Lamar Jackson, though. This is the Ravens. You would think, because this is what happens in our league and our industry. Now it's like, books out on the Ravens. Doesn't this feel like something they should be able to work toward fixing?
Absolutely, yeah. But there's no way to completely stop Lamar Jackson in this offense. This is one way, I think, to slow it down because they didn't fix it during the game. Like, they knew what was happening. They had 2 safeties in Miami that blitzed more in that game than any safeties in the history of next-gen stats, and it's by far, both of them, and yet they couldn't solve it during that game. You would think they have the receivers to win one-on-one matchups, but they weren't coming up with solutions last night.
We spent more chunks of last year with the Ravens offense being figured out and the book being out on them, and it wasn't the case coming into this year. So they have to work on that. This is the whole thing. You got to work it out.
A running game would help. That would have done it.
Wouldn't hurt.
Well, if there's like 10 guys screaming through the line of scrimmage,
then you pop one and you get a big game.
I know, it seems easier. And by the way, you guys haven't lived until you've seen a 16-year-old Clarkstown South Ram quarterback get surged at a blitz from every angle, and you actually see the whites of his eyes. For the first time in his life, he's scared.
Visual horror.
High school football. Trench work. Steelers. Man, I'll never forget that Big Ben designed run. I think about it a lot. It happened Monday night. They were trying to set up for the game-winning field goal. Can we see this? I'll just never forget this. That is look at this. This was designed. They went in the huddle, and Matt Canada said, let's do the designed Ben Roethlisberger run play. Didn't work. Fell short. He clocked the ball also. Kind of botched the end of that game. They got away with it. I just want to say, Big Ben, 2021 Big Ben, not always easy on the eyes to watch. And that is something going forward from a more above the treetops viewpoint when you talk about the Steelers and their chances this year.
I think it's not underreported because we've been talking about the end of Big Ben for like all offseason into this year, but there are 9 more games with Ben Roethlisberger in our life. I am presuming unless they want to keep him around. I think the answer
10
definitely
maybe for
is
the
not.
playoffs.
Look at you.
10
Only 9 games left.
I mean, but he has been in our lives forever. It's cemented since 2004.
Yours more than ours.
As a Browns fan, yes, it's quite. But there's no overt plan for what they're going to do post Big Ben, and I don't think there's a huge plan for what they're doing with Big Ben right now, the player, with where he's at.
They're doing the best they can.
Well, that's fine. But
right now, what is he? Like the 25th best quarterback in the league.
That's
like
too low, but you're the QB index guy.
The Broncos won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning really at the end. So there's ways for them to figure out how to win games. They're doing it. They're 5-4. Like, it's not that hard. People, the toughest thing in pro sports is to win an NFL game. No, it's exactly as easy or hard as any game. One team wins.
He's no longer an elite quarterback. He's no longer a great quarterback. He might not even be a good quarterback anymore. But you still have him ranked too low in your QB index if he's 25. He is the 18th or 19th best quarterback.
Go through the list and tell me. Like, all right, Mike White is ranked ahead of him right now.
Mike White has played 5 quarters.
But, like, for those 5 quarters, hasn't he been on average much better than we've seen? Has Ben Roethlisberger played as good as Mike White in any 5 quarters? I say no.
No.
Well, there you go.
You're trying to set. This is how I know where you were in the debate club in high school. Like, you're trying to turn Mike White against me in analysis here. I love Mike White. He's the future of our sport.
Model Congress president, 1996.
That attracted them.
And you're telling me you had girlfriends in high school?
All throughout.
Unbelievable.
That's when I peaked.
Unbelievable.
He's the president of Model Congress. He just runs the school, I'd imagine.
Right.
To some degree.
And the big man on campus. All right, Mark on the Browns.
All right, the Browns. How about this? Obey me. Don't crumble like a lost baby versus Bill Belichick. I actually had a lost baby versus BB. Just to, the alliteration there. This is my thing with Cleveland. You do not have a signature win this season. I think that they've been a resilient team. They've overcome a lot of injuries. What happened last week post-Odell was a nice thing to visualize and watch. But the Cleveland Browns have been owned by Bill Belichick and the Patriots, like other teams, this entire century. It is time to turn things around. Greg, you know about this game. The last time the Browns beat the Patriots was way back here.
Here we go.
2010. What was his name? Peyton Hillis, baby. 184 yards. Colt McCoy was on fire that day. Tom Brady looked like an LSD experiment on the sideline. He was truly disturbed. But it was in Cleveland. They have not beaten them in New England under Bill Belichick's reign. So you got to figure it out.
This isn't that Patriots team, though. This doesn't change anything if they win. Now, the way you're instructing them, obey me now,
this game again.
We're watching it again.
Is very strange to me. It's very stern. Do you think that's going to really motivate them? That might just make them play scared with that look in your eye.
No, I think they've put me through a lot. They put.
Are we still watching Peyton Hillis highlights?
I asked the production department to put the highlights in, and there are 3.5 hours of highlights from that game. You got to get this thing done, though. Don't you think the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, whoever's on the field for them? I know there's some issues.
There's no Patriots on the field that were in this game. Oh, Devin McCourty right on the screen to prove me wrong. You're right. You got to get back on Devin McCourty. They are the Patriots to me this year in terms of how they're built in their running game and what they want to do offensively and the way they rush the passer, but they're better than the Patriots at everything. So you're right, Kai. If they lost to me, this would be a bad loss for them because I think they're similar, but they're ahead of the Patriots in terms of what they do.
Look at their wins. They don't have an impressive win over someone big.
This feels like a close, low-scoring game. I will say I thought last week was a signature win for Cleveland. The way they beat a division rival.
Right. You just blew out a 5-3 team.
And the fact that everything that happened with Odell and all the heat on Baker and all the throwing under the bus by that wide receiver, for them to deliver that performance, I think it changes their season.
I give them a huge credit for that, but I'm talking signature win. Like, look at they've lost to a bunch of playoff hopefuls. The Bengals, if that's their signature win, I don't like the end result this season.
Okay.
Just being real with you.
Speaking of the Bengals fine? We're about to bungle this up.
To my point.
Listen, we don't. Let's keep it real. The last 7 minutes against the Jets, no bueno. Outscored 14-0 by a bad New York team. Okay, things happen. I almost used the expletive. I didn't though. Now you go and you get destroyed by the Browns in your building, 41-16, I believe. Now we got a problem, potentially. So the bye week comes at a perfect time for Cincinnati and their staff to try to figure out what's gone wrong. But the defense is the thing that I'm more concerned about. That has really gone sideways after a very good start in the first 7 weeks.
Right. The defense overachieved. I think the last couple weeks they've underachieved. That Browns game was a fluky game in some ways. Those long touchdowns, they were very even in yardage. The Bengals moved the ball. I didn't come out of that game thinking that much differently about them. They've got a top 10 quarterback in my mind and great weapons around him. So by bungle this up, does that mean not make the playoffs? Sure, that could happen, but I don't think they're going to go into
7
some
and
free
10.
fall. That would be bungling it.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
think Joe Burrow's too good to only win 7 games this year.
The stuff I've seen from them, the ceiling, the upper moments, make me believe in them. And it starts with Joe Burrow. I think he's had his 2 worst games. The defense has had its 2 worst games in a row.
Against the Browns, even. Right?
They did early, but then he did make key mistakes in that game. There's no way around it, and that's tricked him out a little bit in the last couple games. Jamar Chase has not been Jamar Chase 2 games in a row. When that's clicking, I think, look at this AFC. It's so muddled and it's so bizarre. Like, if they can stay on course, they are right there in Week 17 or Week 18 vying for this.
The AFC, weird as hell. And it even got weirder on Thursday night. The difference between what's some of the top teams and what's supposed to be the bottom teams, I don't know how vast it is. You look at their schedule, though, even though you can't really tell what's going on in the AFC. After the bye, at Vegas, home Pittsburgh, home Chargers, home Niners. You got to do some damage on that homestand. At Denver, home Baltimore, home KC, at Cleveland. That's a tough schedule.
It is.
I think they're going to get dinged with the schedule gods a little bit here. I think they might be 9-8.
Okay.
But 7 and 10.
That whole
not
AFC North has
impossible.
tough schedule, and at this point, I feel like any one of those 4 teams can win that thing.
Bungle in the jungle, question mark, could have been the
Good
headline there.
Good. What is the main daily in the West Ohio region?
Cincinnati Enquirer.
Correct.
I don't like the open question, the quiz questions coming at me, so direct them towards Greg.
Well, he answered it, and he did a good job. Coming up next, the AFC East. Let's go through it. The Boston Globe, the New York Times, or you want to go with the
This is just a
tabloids,
random
the Daily News, the Post, the Buffalo paper is what?
The Buffalo News.
The Buffalo News and the Miami Herald. Up next on the broadcast. Welcome back to the broadcast. It's AFC East time, an AFC East division that's getting a little interesting. The Buffalo Bills, long thought to be head and shoulders above everyone in the division, but some of these offensive issues now are starting to get me concerned as an outside observer. And if you're a Bills fan, I'm wondering how nervous should you be about what's going on, Mark, with a offense, specifically the big strike offense of last year under Brian Daboll that has disappeared, and the Jaguars game was the biggest example.
I think it's fair to be just concerned as Sean McDermott is, who says, like, we're not where we want to be with balance with our run game, and it puts Josh Allen, I think some of the heat on him last week behind the line look at that, was a big problem for him. Now, I would say if you go back to last year, and it translates to me because you still have Brian Daboll, you still have Josh Allen, it's a lot of the same characters. They went through a stretch where they scored 16, 17, and 18 points against the Titans, Chiefs, and Jets, and they lost 2 of those games, and it looked like a panic scenario, and then when they went on a big run, I just trust the Bills to get out of this mess.
I do, but I also want to point out how easy their schedule has been, especially for their offense. So when you look at their numbers in terms of not getting explosive plays, not averaging that many points, it should be downgraded even more because they've played Washington and Houston and the Chiefs defense. Like, the Jaguars were the worst defense in the league until they played the Bills. That gives me a little more concern than it would normally.
Yeah, and they have the Jets this week on the road. If they do not play well in that game, and the Jets are not a good team, but a team that's a little up and down, they've had some nice wins this year, there will be panic in the streets of Orchard Park if they don't find a way to beat the Jets soundly. That said, I just want to say, like, that offense was historically great last year. Right. And the thing about sports is when you have special seasons, they usually don't happen twice in a row. So when you're not able to get over the mountaintop, and they got to the AFC title game last year, I'm just saying maybe that was the best chance for this particular offense. I don't want to be that guy. But you got to take advantage of those special years. They couldn't truly do it last year.
Little regression, and I think it's fair. And, like, they've been so consistent. So I hear you on that.
All right, Mark, speaking of the Jets.
The Jets, I'm a little bothered for Zach Wilson just with what's happening with the Mike White thing. Zach Wilson basically said this morning, like, my style of play needs to be more like Mike White's. It's his best friend on the team.
You like Mike.
But exactly, and they're basically saying that when Mike White walks into the locker room now, that the whole locker room starts cheering his name. So it's not something that any of us expected Jets-wise. And all I would say is I think it's okay for Zach Wilson to enjoy a sort of philosophical semester at sea. And we had a chance to do that when we were young. I wish I had done that. You're invited to leave school, go, search the Maldives is what they say. But you know that what's really happening.
I was not invited to do that, nor did I.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but I think what you're really doing, you probably couldn't talk about on NFL Network. But I would just say it's time for Zach Wilson to take a little time. Take a step back versus getting beaten up. Get healthy and watch football in this way. Do you agree with me,
I'm going to sound like a homer here,
okay.
But I just want to say, as bad as the beginning of the season went for Zach Wilson, I think he's handling this very well.
Yeah.
I think he's been very good with the media since the jump here, and I do see it seems like he's supportive of this Mike White situation. Now, is it going to get a little funky for Zach Wilson if Mike White destroys football for the next 2 months? Maybe, but let's let it play out first. Let's see what happens, for instance, against the best defense in football, the Bills, on Sunday.
Right. If Zach Wilson doesn't play again this year, that's a tough offseason.
It's a little funky
for Zach Wilson, and that's on the table right now. That Zach Wilson does not play football again this year. The fact that he's the scout team quarterback this week and Joe Flacco is the backup, that also concerns me too, because Joe Flacco does not exactly have a great reputation of helping out the young quarterbacks that he's been with. In fact, he's been.
Why the Flacco drive-bys,
and he looks
Greg?
super annoying.
Here's the thing. It's been public. He went out of his way not to help Lamar Jackson. Drew Lock essentially compared Flacco, without saying his name this year, to Teddy Bridgewater and been like, oh, wow, I didn't know that you could be that much of a leader and that you could help the younger guys and this and that. I'm just saying it's a strange quarterback situation right now. I don't need Flacco there if I'm
Jets have been,
Flacco.
They have a PhD in strange quarterback situations. I don't know if Flacco's going to be around too much longer, to be honest with you. But Mark, how about the Patriots?
All right, so we had a chance to redo our Super Bowl picks at midseason, and I know Dan has this thing where it's not courageous to change your pick in the middle of the year.
No, you stick with it.
Well,
you have to have some type of vision.
Yeah, but in the NFC, I picked the Niners, so that
but
vision
who was it in the AFC that you jumped on?
Well, that's where I'm getting to here. Well, I just had a vision, and you have to go with what new feelings you have. And I would just ask you, is my revised Super Bowl pick the Patriots just another extreme cry for desperate attention? Or is there something to this, Greg? Because you know what? I feel like they're starting to look to me like those old school Patriots teams where they're balanced, they round into shape later in the season, they run the ball, great defense. Who wants to deal with them? Not me.
On one hand, I see that. On the other, I am concerned that they've become that trendy pick. around the NFL, and I'm like, are you really watching them? Because they got problems. Like, Mac Jones has struggled the last couple of weeks. It's still not a great passing attack. I think you can run on them. They've been sloppier in terms of their penalties. They've suddenly started, getting big-time turnovers. But their one great win was against the Chargers. And it was in a game where basically a fluky couple of interceptions won them the game. They have something to prove this weekend against Cleveland. To me, Cleveland's been a better team. They beat Cleveland, and I'm starting to get with you.
Listen, maybe I started the trend, by the way. I didn't follow the trend. I started it.
Jim Trotter had them in the Super Bowl, I noticed.
Jim Trotter and I did it.
Trotter, Sessler, everybody calm down. I built the Patriots bandwagon this season. I was ahead of this weeks ago. I said the Patriots are pretty good. Keep an eye on the Patriots. Now, the one problem, since I got hot and bothered about the Pats being pretty good, is the quarterback, the rookie, his play has gone sideways the last couple weeks. So their chances to be an actual AFC power that makes noise in January, if Mac Jones is sloppy with the football, if he doesn't sense the pass rush, if his accuracy issues crop up, they're not going to make a deep run. But either way, the Patriots are a good team, potentially a playoff.
Here's what I like is that they've changed their defense entirely. They've gone heavy zone after being man-to-man for about 3 or 4 years. They're getting pass rush without having to generate it with Matthew Judon, Christian Barber. Like, that reminds me of some Patriots teams. Defenses that, figure it out as you go.
I went to Home Depot.
The trend was picking them to go to the Super Bowl, not
Wait, that's a bad pick.
You picked the Browns before the season.
No, I did not. The Browns weren't even in the playoffs.
In the AFC.
I don't even remember. That's ages ago.
I'm going to find this out.
We'll find that out.
I'm going to find
We're going to find that out.
I've been looking.
I went to Home Depot. I got the wood. I built the axles, the wheels. I made this bandwagon.
I completely disagree with what you're saying.
Greg on the Dolphins.
For John.
Oh, Robert Hunt. Bobby Hunt. Sometimes you get a so ugly it's good TNF game, and this was that Thursday night. I enjoyed Dolphins, Ravens, and it really took off when Robert Hunt made the play that got big guys everywhere up out of their seats, reaching for the end zone right there. My favorite thing about this play is the running back was right there. I actually think, I think it was Gaskin could have caught that screen, and Hunt just went for the ball anyways. He told our Colleen Wolfe, good job by them getting him on the set, that he was worried it was going to be an interception. And so he just grabbed it. And if you think about it, the fact that he scored a touchdown actually made a difference here because they got to redo third down. They never made that point last night. If that had fallen incomplete, they're kicking the field goal. They got another chance for the end zone. Robert Hunt made a difference.
This is the kind of play that can turn a season around. And the Dolphins, in a lot of ways, last night, I thought they were one of the most watchable teams a year ago. Last night in the second half were watchable, aggressive. They took out the Ravens. That's a signature win right there. I think this might have been a turning point for Miami.
If you like defense, that was as fun a defensive performance as I've seen this year because it was so just aggressive. It was crazy.
That's what they did last year.
That's an interesting take, Mark, because the one thing I never thought after the game was that this is a turning point for Miami. I thought it was a big, dumb, fun Thursday night game. It was wacky, and we got to enjoy it as a group, as football fans, and then they're going to go back to being bad. Because there was 3 quarters of very uninspired football before the fourth quarter.
They have issues. Most of the AFC has issues. If you look at their schedule coming up, they play the Jets twice. I think they've got the Texans in there or something. They've got a nice...
Are they in the playoff mix mid-December?
Yes.
Whoa.
I had them in August, and I think they're going to be a team that
now
does
we're
something
sticking with our
special.
picks in August.
Here's one thing, though. They are better with Tua than Jacoby Brissett, which I think has been lost. I've watched all the Tua snaps. I've watched the Jacoby Brissett stuff. Tua makes them significantly better. You can't say that about all these quarterbacks who have gone onto the bench. That's something. It was a nice moment for Tua.
All right, there we go. Robert Hunt, good for you, buddy. AFC West is coming up next. All the newspapers in the AFC West. Go, Greg. No.
Kansas City Star.
I could do it, but I do want to point out that
Denver
Mark
Post.
had the Bills in the Super Bowl before the season, so he's jumping off the Bills.
I am allowed to. The NFL.com literally asked me to revise my mind.
Oh, yeah. Mark, it's vision over visibility when it comes to those August picks. You can't always see it, but you just have a vision. That's just not what's in front of you. It's over the mountains.
You're saying that's what I did, or that's what I should
That's
do?
what you need to do.
But that's what I've done.
You're staring at the mountains. You need to have the vision to get over the mountains.
I think I provided a few visions on our show in the past.
That was then. This is now.
Well, this is, you know.
So when they put the graphic,
We're
they're
off
just like,
topic.
move on. Move on to the AFC West. Please.
Let's start with the Chargers. Okay, I like the Chargers. We all like the Chargers. They're fun, but they got to fix this run defense. Like, run defense is vital in our league. And in January, it's vital. And every week, they are getting run up on. So I don't want to make this too technical. We're having fun here. But whatever they can do to figure out how to
I'd like you to get technical. Tell me how you would fix
We like Brandon
Right, how?
Staley, right? We love Brandon Staley.
Yes.
He was the defensive coordinator of the Rams. He has the kiss on the forehead from Sean McVay. All right, buddy, we're halfway through the season. Find a way to make this not be such a major issue for this team because it's killing them week after week.
They were the Eagles game in the first half. Exactly what you're saying is what unfolded. Second half, though, they only allowed 34 yards on the ground. And Linval Joseph, who is about the size of all three of us taped together twice, basically said, and I can't really say what he said because I don't think it's appropriate for TV, but he kind of said we got tougher, let me put it that way, in that second half. We're going to build off of that. But I don't know how you fix it.
Well, you got run over in the first half.
I know,
first
but
half counts
they're
too.
clinging to anything they can. But you trust Brandon Staley to come up with an inventive idea or two to do it. But how do you do it?
Do they have the personnel?
9 or 10. I don't think so.
I mean, I like their linebacker group. Drew Tranquil, I think, is going to be out this week with COVID. Kazir White's played well. It's really the guys up front. I just like that Brandon Staley is a man of conviction. I mean, he is a man who is testing these analytic bromides. How about that for a vocab word?
I'm blown away by that.
He is,
Kansas City star right
you know, because you said run defense is really important in our league. But the numbers would say if you're going to be bad at something, make it run defense. That actually might be the least important part of any team, offense or defense, that you want the other team to run because the average run is ultimately less effective than even if you're great at stopping the pass. There's a point, though, where it gets too much. Like, they're over that point. They just need it to be okay.
When you're getting gashed on the ground, not only does it lead to issues with ball control, it opens up the passing game. I don't need to diagnose this. I'm not Vince Lombardi, but when you don't stop the run, it kills your team. It puts the other team in better down and distance situations. It uses the clock. Got to fix it. But I know what you're saying.
Right.
Greg's talking the funnel of the run business.
They got to get it to like 20th in the league, and then they move it.
How about the Raiders?
The Raiders are good at like what traditional football heads are like to see, and that's rushing the passer. How about Yannick Ngakoue last week? A couple more sacks. Max Crosby, to me, has been like an all-pro type of player this year. They might be the best pass rush tandem in the league right now. It's why I like them this week against Kansas City. I think they get after it. It's why this Raiders team has a chance to stop that trend of late season slides. It is different. They haven't had a great pass rush at any point, and these two dudes are doing it week after week.
What a savior Max Crosby is, because they have been historically awful and inept in the last few years with their draft picks, especially in the first round. I mean, we just lost, the Henry Ruggs tragedy. We had that, but they cut Damon Arnett, who was another first-round pick from 2020. Max Crosby was not a first-round pick, but he plays like a first-round stud, and Ngakoue was a nice pickup. They've been able to supplement some of the draft failures with outside resources.
I had a chance to go to the last Raiders game ever in Oakland, and Max Crosby's mom is a photographer on the sideline, a very nice lady. Just thought I'd mention that. But she's like obviously very proud of her son.
She works for.
I'm just saying she couldn't have been nicer.
I thought you were getting into a greater point.
No, that was about
just
as far as the point went. But just that I also think that if you had Ngakoue, who last couple stops has not been the guy he is right now. He had 3 sacks
he was hurt last year. Last year.
He's healthy. He's great. It's the thing you can count on, though, between now and the rest of the season if they stay healthy, this pass rush. And that makes them a little more special than they were in the past.
I would have Crosby as like an all-pro defensive end right now, maybe the top 2 in the league. And then Ngakoue is right below them, and it changes them. I think if you've got that and you've got Derek Carr, you've got a chance. Let's go Raiders.
I know. And I like the Raiders. I always
one of Greg's 32 favorite teams.
No. I'm not even a Raiders guy. I do think they're built a little different. They've run the ball pretty well actually the last couple weeks.
To me, they are, when we look ahead to the second half, a range of outcomes here that goes here to here, and neither would surprise me. It's been a hell of a year for Vegas, and it's only halfway through in terms of drama and action on the field. My goodness. Nice lady, that mom.
She's a very nice woman.
Mrs. Crosby.
That's all I can. I don't know her that well. I can report that on first blush, a very nice individual.
It's a great story.
Great story. Great story.
There's more to it.
A raconteur, just like Matt Money Smith. Mark on the Chiefs.
Well, obviously the Chiefs have gone through all sorts of stuff, and it's like, what's wrong with Patrick Mahomes? Like, I think Andy Reid totally escapes critique by the football nerd set.
Okay.
And, let me just say, I get it. I like Andy Reid a lot. I think he's obviously totally enjoyable. I love his little utility belt that he wears and his red coats.
It's not little.
And he's, we sat near him once. He's got a big scar on his knee. He's a tough old guy. He was a big youth. But you know what? At this point, how about get a little more creative with this offense and help some of these guys out and work them out of this muddly mess that they're in to some degree. I'm just saying, everyone else is like, what's going on with everyone else in the offense?
This is a shot at Greg. Go ahead, Greg. You're
what
the
about
football
Andy?
set.
That's not just Greg. There's no critique. There's no critique aimed at Andy Reid.
Be direct about it, though. Like, why don't you critique him? That's what this is you're critiquing him.
I am saying, I think
this is why you ended up being chaotic neutral on the the Dungeons and Dragons thing. Some fan sent us. Mark is a guy who wants chaos, but he's not going to go out and say it. He's trying to sow destruction.
I have no idea what that board means.
I didn't know what it meant, but
that's Greg's interpretation.
It worked.
I'm not sure.
I think it worked. You were too nice to be direct. You're criticizing him, so just do it.
I am just asking where the critique is, because I think that you're at this. Every other head coach, when the offense is struggling, they're getting killed for it left and right. And it just seems like Andy Reid probably would tell you himself, I've got to find a way to get us out of this.
Chiefs fans are criticizing him. People want him to run the ball more. That's how you beat these
maybe just in our little bubble that we live in, I don't hear a lot of it.
You know what? I would like to see what the offense looks like once they get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. That's coming. I trust them. And, Eric Bieniemy, a guy that has been overlooked in head coaching opportunities. There was a lot of outcry about that. He's in the building, too. He's the offensive coordinator. So Bieniemy, if he's the guy that everybody thinks he is, if Andy Reid is the guy we know he is, they'll put their heads together. They're going to figure this out.
Because this is the worst month in the Andy Reid era. Not just with the Chiefs, in any Andy Reid era. Like, it really is the worst month. So he's earned like a pass after 20 years.
All right, I hear you.
I think Greg got it right. Although I like that you go after him.
I'm asking the question.
That's right.
I'm not saying
you don't shred Andy Reid when he's going to the Hall of Fame because he's one of the greatest offensive minds ever. He's just trying to figure it out.
I just like to see equitable critique.
Equitable critique.
Okay.
Good band name. Mark on the Broncos.
This is for Dan, because I could imagine Dan saying this.
Yes.
Look at us. We're a big old headache in your head. They are becoming a little bit of a problem. They haven't allowed, more than 17 points since week 6. You're starting to get the Vic Fangio defense. They've been growing on that side of the ball. Last week against Dallas, I know that we're tossing that game out. But on offense, too, they ran the ball really well.
Why are you tossing it out?
We'll get to that on the NFC side. But I'm just saying I think this Broncos team could be a problem down the stretch. They still have 5 of 6 games left against AFC West opponents. Am I calling them a playoff team? Not there yet necessarily, but can they cause a little bit of havoc?
Chaotic neutral.
And they'll be a chaotic neutral, exactly. I believed in them not even a bit a month ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. They're starting to change my mind.
Yesterday you didn't believe them either when we did the podcast. I was saying I was into the Broncos and you were saying you weren't into them at all.
That's not what I said. I was suggesting that is not go back to the tape.
All right. Let me say, I was just so impressed by what they had. Is there some Ewing theory potential here? The old Bill Simmons theory that a team could lose its best player and then immediately jump up in level of play, whether that be a motivational thing or a change of the schematics. I don't know. We'll see. Von Miller's not there anymore, but they didn't miss him on Sunday. I like their chances to make a run here because what happens when you start 3-0, you could sustain a 4-game losing streak like they did and then get hot again. And all of a sudden, whoa, we're 5-4 and we're a half game out in the division. They are in the mix in a chaotic. What is the other? What did the Dungeon and Dragons?
Chaotic neutral.
No, what's the other one?
Lawful good. You can
like the evil chaotic? They are the evil chaotic of the AFC.
I like that.
Yeah.
They've got Jerry Jeudy back. He makes a big difference. They're healthier on offense in terms of their skill position players. You got Noah Fant back. The running game's great. the defense, they're so injured. Even last week, they lost multiple great starters, including Patrick Surtain, and including one of their starting guards who was hurt on a Hail Mary attempt that they probably should have never tried. Like, they are missing about half of their starters. That's a lot to overcome. That's all.
Big ol' headache in your head. All right, that's the AFC West. We're not done yet. We're just getting started here on the broadcast. The AFC South is up next. The hottest team in the AFC, the hottest team in football. Oh my goodness, the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk them up next on the broadcast. Oh, it is. We are having fun on the broadcast. Welcome back. Let's do the AFC South, Greg. Let's start with the leaders. The hottest team in the AFC, the Titans.
Ooh, Titans. Why is the desert? You know, out there, the Vegas.
The desert.
Why is it so skeptical of the Tennessee Titans? Not only like a monster underdog last week before they beat up on the Rams, but barely favored against the Saints. Like, what more do they need to do right now in Tennessee to get some faith of the people? I know the underlying analytics aren't there for this team, but it's like, you can throw away September. None of that means anything to me. People think that they're going to fall apart because they don't have Derrick Henry. I don't see that either. I think Derrick Henry is extremely valuable, but this is a team of toughness, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
You said it, underlying analytics.
Yeah, that's number one.
There is because they play in the AFC South, there's a general idea that they're the best team in a soft division, and the Derrick Henry injury. I think those things together depress the way people see them when you're talking about the superpowers of the league.
But they're 2.5-point favorites against a Saints team led by Trevor Siemian that might not have Alvin Kamara, by the way, whose best receiver is like the return guy. It's like one of the worst position groups I've ever seen.
True or false? Did the Titans have over 200 total yards of offense against another elite defense in the NFC last Sunday?
They didn't need it.
I'm just saying, the Desert's saying they're going to struggle.
They beat up on the Chiefs. They beat the Bills.
You have been for weeks a little lower on Derrick Henry, even when he was healthy, than other people. I think that our friends in the desert would look at the absence of Derrick Henry and, the yardage total last week against a good defense and all that happened and say, we'll favor you, but it's not going to be by a mountain of points.
I get it.
Wouldn't you be annoyed if they were favored by like 9 points? 8 points?
Against the Saints, yes, but I would go 6 or 7. Right now, this is not the same Saints team. They started Trevor Siemian last week. They lost to the Falcons.
But Sean Payton finds a way to cook up something special no matter what's going on.
They're begging people to take the Titans, which is never a good sign because they know what's going on.
I think you're begging.
That's the sucker's bet this week is taking the Titans. But
well, in fairness, I locked up the Titans on our podcast this week.
That's what they're looking for.
The
They're
spread
looking
should be
for
3.5. What is it?
It's 2.5 or 3.
It's not that bad.
That's crazy to me. The Titans are the best team in the NFL over the last month. I don't know what we're
You know what's
missing.
great about sports?
Yeah.
We get to watch on Sunday.
We'll find out.
Up next, Mark on the Colts.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I totally give up.
Oh, yes.
These guys are kind of good. And you're saying
your team.
You're saying don't change your mind. Don't, stick with what you said back in August. Like, I had been down on the Colts, but what is the point of sticking with that opinion? Like, you've got to change how you feel based on evidence. They've scored 31 points a game on average for 6 weeks.
So beating up on the Jets is what finally did it.
No, I mean I am just saying.
Building. I know what Mark's saying.
It's been building, and I'm kind of with this team at this point. I'm re-galvanizing and resetting my expectations. I'm kind of up for anything. Dan and I went to an up for anything party at a Super Bowl years ago, and we painted a white horse with multiple colored paints.
Up for anything.
So I'm up for anything. You can paint me if you want.
Okay. Well, we went in the direction. The Colts against the Jets, it's like, I don't even know what to make sense of. That was one of the worst defensive performances I've seen by the Jets in all my years watching the team. There was a stat that Jonathan Taylor and everybody else in that running game, there were 6 yards before they were even touched on carries.
6 yards before contact.
6 yards before contact. That's what we were talking. They were just blowing away the Jets. And that's what good teams do. They absolutely massacre bad teams. And I think they're now at the stage where they can hang with good teams as well. I think this is a playoff team.
4-5. They're only 1 game back, but they're going to have to win. The schedule sets up well. What we've learned about the Colts is that they beat down the lesser teams in the NFL. They put 30 or 40 on them. To me, the Jaguars' defense is still one of the worst in the league until proven otherwise. They had 1 nice game. The Colts are healthier on offense than they've been all season. Braden Smith, their right tackle, thought he might be out for the year. He's playing this week. T.Y. Hilton's back for this week. The offensive line's good. Whatever the over-under is here, 40 points for the Colts. That feels about right this weekend.
It's fair to point out, before we get too high on the Colts, and Greg deflated a little bit there but also that Thursday night massacre of the Jets neatly did all the cover-up you needed on the meltdown by Wentz the previous week against the Titans.
I don't trust Wentz against good defense.
So is Wentz in a big spot this season, someone you could trust? Well, we'll also find that out. See, that's how it works. Greg on the Jags. How many minutes do the Jags get this week?
They get both minutes. It's you made it. You've earned it. You beat the Bills. You get 2 minutes. And Mark now is all into these Jags. He sees a potential berserker team. I just don't see any touchdowns. They basically have no touchdowns since their bye in a meaningful spot. Trevor Lawrence should be getting better. The only touchdown they have in the last 2 weeks was with about 1:40 left when they were trailing 31-0 to Geno Smith. So I guess I don't see the progress yet.
I would just say, let's talk about what a berserker is. For probably everyone watching that has no idea what we're talking about. It's a team that down the stretch creates tumult for the people that they play. Now, they just did that to Buffalo. No one saw that coming. A berserker sometimes is a team that from a distance, it's like someone yanks a switch and they're like a Manchurian candidate get turned on. It's not. They didn't need touchdowns to beat Buffalo, and it might be other elements of the team. And I'm not saying they're going to go on a 7-game run, but from once in a while,
they'll be frisky?
Once in a while, you're going to get a little Urban Meyer evil smile on the sideline and wagging his little finger.
That checks out. Some berserker games coming up on their schedule. At Colts, at Rams, at Tennessee, at New England, home Colts to close the season. If you want to be a true berserker, you do damage in the last week of the regular season.
You got to win 2 of those, make a couple others sweat maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what? If we're going to say, Mac Jones, he's been a little hot and cold, but you still have confidence that he'll improve as the season goes along. This is a little cold stretch here now for Trevor Lawrence, but he's still, again, one of the more heralded QB prospects in a long time. I like the idea of him getting better as the season progresses, even if right now he feels like he's in a valley. I'm with you, Connor. I think they can win some games.
They're just a little bizarre.
I don't see a lot of other reasons to watch the Jaguars right now other than Trevor Lawrence every week. I know you love Josh Allen.
But if that was a total aberration, which probably, it probably was, then this season is just the wackiest season we've ever experienced. Because every week there's 3 of these games, and there'll be 3 more this week.
It's pretty wacky. Wacky's still in the mix is a word. People still using it.
I don't think that it's highly used. It's here and there.
All right, the Texans. We got to give the Texans 1 minute, right?
Yeah, sorry.
The Texans and the Texans fans are like, yeah, give us 1 minute.
Yeah, they don't want more.
The Texans are on a bye. And when they write the book of the Texans in 20 years, this will be remembered as the lost year for the Houston Texans because, the spring and the summer through October was just dominated by the Deshaun Watson drama. That now has gone on the back burner for the time being, post-trade deadline. And now that all that's left is the worst team in football having to play 9 more games. So there's really, and the absolute knowledge that everything's getting blown up in the spring. So if you're on the Texans, if you're a player, if you're a coach, it's all about, man, I got to put some good tape out there because this team is not going to be the team that it is right now this time next year. And we are not going to win a lot of games. We might not win another game. In fact, this might be the last Sunday without a Texans loss. This feels like the first ever 1-16 team.
You could argue that the offseason coming up for Nick Caserio and the whole Texans organization is the biggest in their franchise.
They do have the Jets and the Jaguars. They'll at least look at those games as winnable.
54-second monologue on the Texans. I'm sorry I didn't give you guys just space to breathe.
That was a pros pro right there.
You did us a service there. You took one for the team.
Up next, we take a pause from team by team to talk who's better. Who is better? This guy or that guy? This team or that team? This newspaper or that newspaper? Post versus the Daily News. I give it to the Post. Up next on the broadcast. Oh, yeah. Who's better? Presented by Truist. We got 2 cases that I am going to throw out to you boys, like throwing a piece of meat in between the two of you. Well, Mark's the vegan, but anyway, Patrick Mahomes or the Raiders pass rush.
Wait, are you a vegan? You are.
I'm more vegetarian. Why?
Right,
on every episode, we dive into things about my personal life that no one has asked about.
I just gave Max Crosby and Ngakoue so much pop, I got to go with the Raiders. You got to judge what you're seeing, not what you imagine. And they're better this season. There's no question than Patrick Mahomes.
It's impossible for me to say that Patrick Mahomes is going to stay this way, that this is who he is from here on out.
Of course not.
You're right at this moment that we're seeing more production from the Raiders pass rush, but I'm Team Mahomes all the way on this.
As the great Dido once said, I will go down with this ship. I won't wave my flag and surrender.
Bingo.
I am sticking with Patrick Mahomes. I'm sticking with Andy Reid. I'm sticking with Eric Bieniemy. I'm sticking with Tyreek Hill. I'm sticking with Travis Kelce. You get the picture. They figure it out.
I get it, but
this week.
It's not. Is it who's been better or who's gonna be better?
Who's better?
Let us know, Truist, because if it's who's gonna be better in the long run, yeah, sure, then you take Mahomes.
All right. Up next. I think that was
Right now, it's
pretty definitive that Patrick Mahomes is better.
Thank you.
Sorry, Greg. Better luck maybe with Baker Mayfield or the Patriots in their 4th-ranked scoring defense.
Well, I'd have to go with the Patriots right now. Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback, though. Just a week ago on this show, I was getting grief from Dan. You've got him too high at 15.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. I think you can cook him up a little bit, and he relies on his scheme to win for him. And so that's why I'm going to give it to the Patriots.
I mean, it's also what's around Baker Mayfield. Like, when their run game is on fire, it takes a lot of heat off him. I thought last week was his best game that I've seen him play, and I'm not even saying statistically, just what he overcame, the passes he made, the mistakes he didn't make. You don't see that every week. This is going to be a totally different challenge. Bill Belichick did a nice job against Baker Mayfield a couple years ago, and I know he has a plan for him right now.
Like, here's who's better. The Browns' running game. That's who's better.
Yeah, let's hope
Exactly.
Nick Chubb is involved with that Browns running game. I think Bill Belichick's better than Baker Mayfield, so I would say that. I think. By the way, I wasn't getting on Baker so much. Last week you had Baker at 15th in the QB index at a low point in the season, and Big Ben at 25 because you hate Big Ben.
That's not it at all.
I would say Baker's 15 to 17, and Ben is like 18 to 20. That was all I was saying. Don't conflate.
You got to watch Ben more this year. He's earned
Ben.
that spot. There's a big difference.
Well, we're not talking about Ben.
We just did.
Ben's not better than anything we've
It's a
talked about
free-flowing
right now.
conversation.
He's less than average, Ben, at this point.
Yeah. Baker's a little above average, just a little.
Who won that one?
I won.
Did Greg take the sweep? He got swept there, didn't he?
Truest one.
Greg got swept. Truist is always
to be
the
That was who's better.
we
with us.
do this.
Presented by Truist. Coming up next, we move to the other conference, the NFC East. A little less chaotic in the NFC, but still a lot of intrigue. What the hell happened to the Cowboys last week?
Chaotic neutral.
Welcome back to the broadcast. We are only halfway through. It's 2 hours. We have chains to our legs with a timing mechanism that unlocks us after 2 hours. So we are contractually bound to give you another hour of content. Let's talk about the NFC now. We've done the AFC. Let's start with the East Division. Mark, on the leading Cowboys.
All right, I will just ask this. Just a bad night at the bar? You know, on our podcast preview show this week, I raised the question, like, is there anything to take away from what happened to Dallas against Denver? I was suplexed to the mat. Like, the game apparently had no meaning in our world's history. It told us nothing about the Cowboys on any level. I'll tell you this. I'll give you on.
Why are they at a bar?
Well, I'm just saying that I know Greg has never been to a bar, but like sometimes that happens. So I'm just that's how it works. But I want to ask you this. Let's take the offense for Dallas and just say they're going to be fine. How about the defense? They were gashed on the ground. 9 runs of 10 plus yards, which really goes back to last year when they were killed by Cleveland. Mike Nolan's defense, that thing was a mess. I've liked Dan Quinn's defense in Dallas a lot. I think it's been one of the better parts of what's happened to Dallas. Do you take anything from that side of the ball, that the way that Denver piled up 40-plus minutes of possession, is any of that repeatable? Or again, just we throw it out?
It's the old line. All the other guys got Cadillacs too. These are professional athletes. It's a well-coached Broncos team. They had a really good day at the office. The Cowboys got caught napping a little bit. I think they'll learn from it. They'll say, okay, we're really good. Everyone's been telling us we're great for 2 months. But we're not that good that we could kind of look past opponents, and I think it might actually make them a better team down the road.
Flipping it, I do think there's something to take from the defense. Offense, no concerns at all. I think they're going to be one of the best in the league, and that makes them a Super Bowl contending team. The defense relies a lot on turnovers and a lot on energy and hustle and tackling, which is like the Bengals too. To me, I'd rather just have great players, and they're now missing another great player in Randy Gregory for much of the rest of the season. Now he's going to injured reserve, so that's a concern on the defensive side.
Okay. We've all had bad nights at the bar. So. Mark and I have at least. That's why I stopped drinking gin. Gin makes Danny fierce. Gets Danny in a mood to be, in an agitated state.
But you can go third person if you're sober. That's fine.
Move to Tito's, things are fine now.
You're good.
And that's not speaking down on the gin industry. Let's just move on. Washington football team. Can Ron Rivera fix his precious defense before it gets him fired?
That's a condescending tone.
Whoa.
Why does it seem so mean?
What, because of the precious?
Precious, yeah.
I mean, because we love Ron Rivera. We like him as a man. He's a great leader of men, and he's overcome a lot. And he obviously inherited a dumpster fire and is really trying to get Washington into the realm of respectful NFL teams. However, it's been as bad as, look at this. That's a perfect example. The confusion, the outright confusion, the failures in coverage and everything this season. This was supposed to be his ballywick, Greg, but it's not. And if it continues to stay this bad, you have ownership that might want to make a change. They're known to do that in Washington.
I don't think they'll want to with Ron Rivera, just because he has so much power, not just in terms of the coach, but the front office, the organization.
Doesn't always make sense when ownership makes decisions.
Absolutely, but the defensive struggles maybe turned around a little bit just before the bye week. They're coming off it now. The problem is now they got to play the Bucs. So if you're looking to fix your defense, don't try to do it against Tom Brady.
I would view Ron Rivera as fireproof right this season. That nothing that happened last year or this year would get him fired, because there's a power vacuum in Washington. He's filled it. He's done a great job. I think for what they needed, he's doing a lot of it that's off the field. The defense needs to be addressed, but I'd say their pass rush has been a little bit better last couple of weeks. Jonathan Allen's someone you could point to that's his performance has been up and up, but they've been a huge disappointment, and a huge part of it is the offense. They haven't scored more than 13 points since early October.
Well, Taylor Heineke's their quarterback. That was something they can't control. The Ryan Fitzpatrick injury in week 1 in the first half, that was a killer for them. But what the whole idea anyway was the defense was going to make them frisky, and it's been a dreadful disappointment. There's no other way around it.
Don't build around defense. I really mean that. Whether it's your head coach, look at Brandon Staley. He's a defensive head coach. He's not trying to build around defense.
No.
All right.
Problem.
Moving on. The Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tee this one up too. I want to give a little love to Devonta Smith. He's an under-the-radar rookie stud. It's not the Jamar Chase level pop or a young quarterback being in the spotlight and having a good stretch of games. He kind of, like the rest of the Eagles, is a little bit on the fringes of the conversation in the NFL this season, but he just seems so locked and loaded. I'm not saying that he's a perfect comp here, but the way Keenan Allen is kind of a master tactician, that's what I think when I think Devonta Smith. His route running is so crisp. He doesn't look like a rookie, and I think he's going to keep getting better and be remembered as one of the best guys from his draft class. I'm all in on Devonta Smith, and it was nice to see Jalen Hurts and Smith really start to build on that chemistry against the Chargers. That's something to keep an eye on in the second half.
It was his best game. I think it's a reason. I know that Philly fans are pegged as being impatient because they are. I mean, like most fans, but there are reasons to be patient with some of the stuff we're seeing. He's one of them. And on a personal side, I know that what happened with Henry Ruggs was an epic tragedy on so many different levels, but they were best friends, and it's just from the angle of seeing. Dealing with that the week leading up and then going and having the game he did. I mean, it must have been a super surreal experience, and I do think that there's a lot of promise in Devonta Smith.
I couldn't agree more with what you said, Dan. I think if he was on a different team, he could be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like that, can be just as impressive as Jamar Chase. He's open. He's open every play. I've never seen a guy 170 pounds he's listed as that's as strong as Devonta Smith. I think his strength is one of his defining characteristics, and yet he's the lightest guy on the field. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll fill out as he gets older. This is a guy. There is promise on that offense when they start cooking, and Hurts is in a good spot. I'm not counting out Jalen Hurts being the guy there in the future. They're a very interesting team, though, to try to project where they're going to be in the middle of November and March. Where do they go? Where does ownership go at the next step?
He's a true one as a rookie. If they're 28th in passing yards. If he was on a team that was a top 5 passing team, he'd be lighting it up.
Greg, I'll give you 1 minute, buddy. Giants.
Wow, they only got one. That makes sense. I really struggled to come up with something to say about this Giants team. It's more just that the offense is it's more of a concept. What is the Giants offense? Have we ever seen the Giants offense? There's no way to talk about the Giants offense. It's just like this. I don't know. It's like a metaphor.
Is a concept.
I don't know what it is. We've never seen it. Come back, Saquon. Come back, Shepard. Come back, Galladay. Stay back. I just don't even know. Kadarius Toney was great for a week or two, and then he disappeared. What is this?
I love the idea of that being on Jason Garrett's resume. My offense, more of a concept than a reality, but it's kind of like a long road movie where people are reunited at the end. They've been searching for each other the whole time. But the problem is it's a football season. You can't reunite at the very end. They should be together now.
This is their bye week. Their injuries have been the story. Saquon, Shepard, Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton have all missed 3 games or more. Kadarius Toney's missed 2 games. And it's really muddled, this injury avalanche has muddled the evaluation of Daniel Jones in his 3rd year. And I know Jason Garrett's not a popular figure, but it's kind of been unfair to him, too, because how do you put together an offense week after week when you have essentially close to a practice squad team trying to execute what your plans are?
I'm with you. I said the same about Joe. It's how do you judge any of these guys with who's been out?
All right. If any team deserves a little injury luck in the second half, it's the G-Men.
Yes.
Go 4-5. Go 5-4 down the stretch. Do something.
Shock the world against the Bucs, right? Let's get crazy next week. All right, NFC West up next. Good division.
Hurts showing a little juice there.
He's got juice.
Did not think he had
needed that change of scenery. Up next on the broadcast. Sell it. All right, welcome back to the broadcast. It's time for the NFC West. Let's start with the Seahawks coming off their bye. They got the Packers this week, and they got their quarterback back. Russell Wilson, a month ago, shredded his finger. Here's the tweet that he sent out last week as he was getting ready to get back on the field. Let's check that out. No more pin. Time to win. Liked it. Okay. Loved it. But here's the thing. I think Russ has kind of overplayed his hand a little bit with the miracle comeback angle. The storyboard has been misplayed a little bit. Here he was in his press conference on Wednesday. I enjoyed this quote.
So you said cut the estimate time in half. Did they tell you originally 8 weeks?
Most likely 6 to 8, yeah, to be go. And so, I wasn't going to take the 6 to 8. That wasn't my mind.
Wasn't in his mind. And he told reporters also, as part of his effort to break records with how quickly he returned, he said he worked on his hand probably 19 or 20 hours a day. He's spinning the narrative. He's a miracle man. Greg, you buying in?
I mean, I can't forget that he once tried to bring us up on some anti-concussion juice. Let's be real about it. It's funny to me to watch Pete Carroll talk about it too, because it's like, yes, it was a miracle that Russell Wilson, because he has to sort of play along with the storyline. Carroll's like, oh yes, he is one of the great healers of our generation.
When I was so funny.
When I was a freshman in college, I had to water some baseball player who lived next door in our dorm's plants, and I walked in there.
I think you had to water the player.
Well, no, the plants. Yeah, and I walked in, the wall was littered with hundreds of little motivational sayings, and I was like, these athletes just operate a little differently. That's Russell Wilson. As someone who tweets things a lot myself that I probably shouldn't tweet, inner worlds, just maybe chill out a little bit,
We're having too much fun, because he is a badass, but he's also furious that Aaron Rodgers is the main story this weekend.
Oh,
he's not happy about that.
The doctor that performed the surgery on Wilson's finger the day after the injury on Thursday Night Football called it the most severe injury he's ever seen to the throwing hand of an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying shin's on the take, but I'm sure Russ was fine with that getting out there as well.
I hear you. I think he is a courageous man.
And let me make it clear, at 12s, I love Russell Wilson. He's literally the funniest man in America. Mark on the Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Colt McCoy, golden hero of the West. You know what? Who knows if we'll see him again this entire season, but what more can you do? I love backup quarterbacks in general. I think they've figured something out about life. You kind of have a chilled out vibe on the sideline, and once in a while, every couple of years, you come in, you walk into a bar and just knock out the bad guys and rescue the girl. That's what Colt McCoy did last week for a Cardinals team that people counted out against the Niners. Greg switched his lock from the Cardinals to the Niners because of this, and he paid for it because you do not confront Colt McCoy.
It's good. All you got to do as a backup quarterback is have this game every couple of years, and then it buys you another 2 to 3 years.
You get paid.
And Colt's been doing it forever. I mean, he was a second-round pick of the Browns 12 years ago now? It feels like a long time.
Third round, ages ago.
Ages ago. And Mike White with the Jets we talked about, Mike White is going to earn paychecks for a while based off 4 quarters.
And barely worked, by the way. It's a nice contract.
I mean, Colt McCoy got it done, too. There wasn't any receivers out there. I know a lot of those were short passes that his receivers took a long way, but the ball was on time. It was a credit to Cliff Kingsbury and that Cardinals offense that they could be that good with Colt McCoy. If they get the 1 seed, you got to give Colt McCoy a little extra money.
I think
he gets a full share anyway, right?
He'd get paid well.
I'm just saying, if they get the 1 seed or they win the Super Bowl, Colt McCoy was a legit big part of that.
I'm going to look up what Colt McCoy has made in his career because he hasn't really been in the firing lane too much in his life.
I mean, that James Harrison hit was enough.
Well, initially, of
that could have he survived.
That was enough for an entire career.
Yeah, he earned some of this at this point. But I'm with you, and I like me some Colt McCoy. The Cardinals showed their depth in that game.
You start him again this week if Kyler's iffy. He returned to practice, Kyler, on Friday, so he's game time decision. Probably he'll play if he could practice, but I don't know. You could buy another week with Colt McCoy if you wanted.
Career earnings.
Where are we, Dan, with the earnings of Colt McCoy?
Colt McCoy, he's made almost $20.5 million in the NFL in salary.
And I know he's working all the time behind the scenes, but in terms of game action, he's worked 5 days in 6 years. I think he has figured out society. I love the approach. And
not to circle back to Russ, but I had one more thing I wanted to ask you guys about. If he said he was working on his finger 19 to 20 hours a day. Now there are 24 hours in a day. did that mean he was sleeping for 4 to 5 hours, and then the entire day he's doing finger exercises after that?
I think he's implying that he's waking up at intervals to do some sort of finger exercises even while he's sleeping. Like he's every 2 hours he gets up and goes like this. That's what they do to fix your finger. You just go like this.
I'd like him to get a
Don't double buzzer me. This is important.
little more sleep than 4.5 hours a night if you're a pro quarterback, maybe.
Brooks be double buzzering me in a big spot behind the glass. Mark on the Cardinals. No, we did that. Greg on the Rams.
Oh, Rams. Wow, OBJ. I'm so excited for this. Like, don't you just like them making our lives more fun? And to me, it's like, don't call him OBJ, call him CPOY. Comeback Player of the Year. He's going to rally from everything the Browns did to him.
We don't see what you're doing, Greg. Stinky Davis.
He's going to rally. You know, the Browns had him down. Can you get Comeback Player of the Year, like, within just 1 year?
How about Comeback Player of the Century?
How about Comeback Player of the Week? Let's see it happen. Come on, Greg.
What? I mean,
this is like Greg is part of the group.
See, I didn't take the cheese, but Mark, go ahead.
I'm not going to take it because here's the thing. I like the Rams side of this. They continue just to totally go for it. They're telling everyone this is our Super Bowl year. It's in our stadium. We're going to make it happen. Odell Beckham's available. We're getting him, and I love the aggressiveness from their side. It's hard for me to run around in circles and do little dances from the Odell side because you just abandoned your team, okay? And so even John Johnson, who was on the Rams, now on the Browns, said, I'm not sure I was going to fit into that offense, Dan.
Listen, nobody likes to hear this because everyone also, it's the cool thing to be pro player no matter what. You never go with the team in any analysis. But he quit on his brothers. That is a real thing that happened, and for some reason he gets a free pass.
He has to be traded. That's a little different than quitting.
Dude, it's the middle of a season.
Right.
It's the middle of a season where you're fighting together, try to get a Lombardi, and you not only you kind of cried your way out of the building, you also put Baker Mayfield in a terrible situation. So I did take the cheese because I still don't think it is at all honorable what the man did. It's not the end of the world.
But if he has 1,000 yards from now until the end of the season, will he get a Comeback Player of the Year vote? I say yes.
By you.
Well, I wish I got a vote.
No, he would.
Someone might.
He would.
People don't care when players quit on their teammates anymore. That's no longer seen.
I think you're
as a
painting it black and white, and there's definitely more gray involved there. Like you have a point.
He didn't like Baker Mayfield not completing passes his way. He was the starting wide receiver on an AFC contender. He didn't like the quarterback, so he said, I don't want to be here anymore in the middle of the season.
He has to be traded. They didn't have to trade him.
I mean, there's a lot of ways it could have played out. The way it played out was about as destructive as possible for Baker Mayfield.
It worked out well for them. It did not work out well for him. He's making less money. He's getting paid like a fourth stringer.
You're looking at the books, and I get the book side of it, but it was not a classy way to enact the divorce.
All right. Good job, Greg. Way to stir up debate. Niners. Kyle Shanahan will be in the eye of the storm on Monday Night Football. We know that Kyle, the Shanastans out there, copyright Mina Kimes, are always going to defend this man, and I totally get it. He is, in a lot of ways, still the future of what coaching is all about. He's a great offensive play caller, but you can't run from the truth that for 4 of the 5 years he's been in San Francisco, he's been unsuccessful. And this season, and this game in particular, to my point, if they get embarrassed in prime time and their season kind of is up in flames, it's going to just continue to build the pressure, I think, inside the San Francisco 49ers building that what are we doing? Are we actually building towards something, or are we stuck in the mud?
Owning Sean McVay the last 2 years is one of the last things Shanahan has. Like, it's up there on his resume in San Francisco that they've been this big, powerful team that's kind of dominated the Rams. If they don't have that anymore, you're absolutely right. Ben Solak of The Ringer wrote a great piece on the personnel mistakes Shanahan's made. He has a lot of power. I say he's like Gruden was at Vegas. Ben Solak, it reminded me that Shanahan's having the same problems his dad did. This is exactly what caused Mike Shanahan to lose his job in Denver. Like, he wanted too much power, and he wasn't good at the front office side.
You know, we were talking about the Bengals a couple weeks ago, where, like, all these summer questions they had went well at that time. It was like, wow, their seasons of success at that point, because everything that was a variable for San Francisco feels like it's gone wrong. And I thought that this Rams-Niners matchup is intriguing because a lot of what the Niners did, the aggressiveness, I thought was trailing what the Rams did. Like the Rams went and got Stafford. The Niners made a big move to go get their quarterback, but we've not even seen Trey Lance. And it's Brandon Ayuk. It's DeForest Buckner, the trade there that I think was not a success for them. And you look at the whole thing and say, I'm not sure how many more demoralizing losses they can take.
If they lose by 3 touchdowns at home to a great Rams team, a team they were supposed to be going punch for in this division, it just further crystallizes. It's not a narrative, it's a truth that the 49ers are way behind the curve in their division. Greg, Veterans Day just passed. We all love the troops. We salute the service. Let's fix the pin.
Oh, here we go.
Can we? I mean, the pin has to be upright.
I mean, and let the viewer know.
I think it was just like I was moving around. And
during our first segment, the pin fell off of Greg's jacket and made a loud clanging silver noise while we were talking.
That's just bringing more attention to our salute for service.
True.
What a great job we've done today. We've made it different.
Salute for service. Please serve us. No, the salute to service. Let's brand it, Greggy. Right? It's salute to service. Yes.
I believe you've nailed that.
Up next, the NFC North. What's going on with this division? You guys got any idea?
Well, that's like Dad doesn't know what's up with this one. I don't know.
Dig in after the break.
Welcome back to the broadcast. As I said before the break, the NFC North, huh? Let's try to figure it out, Greg, on the Packers.
I mean, I have it locked down. There's one great team in it. It's the Packers, and I'm looking forward to this game. I drafted it on our podcast because win or lose, the takes are going to be so bad. This is like one to maybe mute Twitter or just skip the Monday morning shows. If Aaron Rodgers wins, people are going to be, well, he overcame him being an idiot on the show. If they lose, it's he was an idiot, and now that's caused negative. No, how about him being an idiot has no effect on this game? How about that?
How Aaron Rodgers shows his true worth to Packers in a big win. It's okay.
I just want to, it's going to be the narrative bowl. I'm intrigued for it because he's going to play into it, I think, no matter what. Win or lose, he's going to have to talk afterward, and I am interested.
But, Greg, you've drafted this game, and that means you'll be covering it on our show on Sunday night. Knowing you, I kind of think that you would have some of those. Not that.
I might have some of the awful takes.
Yeah,
I'll have some awful takes.
Well, and we also should state, we don't know for sure if Aaron Rodgers is playing. He's not cleared because of the COVID list until the day before the game. We shall see, but he's probably playing. I also like the narratives Russell Wilson is a magical healer. Russell Wilson is even human.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And
I don't do 6 to 8 weeks.
The Packers own this Seahawks team in Lambeau. Russell Wilson, I don't think he's ever won there, or it's been 4 in a row. This is kind of been the great NFC rivalry, if you had to choose one, of the last decade. A lot of big moments, these two quarterbacks coming up against each other, and I don't think it'll ever happen again one way or another. This is a game to cherish.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is not there next season. I would
Right, or
give
Russell
my right
Wilson might
shoe
not
on
be
that,
there.
so.
It's kind of, you're walking a tightrope there. It's a game to cherish, but also a game to completely disconnect from the coverage of it.
Like the post-game coverage, there'll be some
Live in the now,
bad
basically.
takes.
Be
Enjoy the
here
football
now.
of it all, because this Packers team kind of fascinates me. Like, they have overcome a lot in terms of missing players this year to win these tough games, and I think the Seahawks have looked better lately too. It's a good game. That's all.
It's a great game because this makes sense as the Seahawks' time to make a push now. It's now or never. The Packers, always interesting, those Packers. I liked what you said, by the way, on the podcast on Thursday. Aaron Rodgers for Russell Wilson trade. Who says no? I know the Seahawks will think about it. The Packers would not say no.
No, the
They'd be like,
Packers
all right,
would
let's
love
go.
it. This is
The
great.
Packers are ready
The
for that, I
Seahawks,
think.
yeah, Russell would have to make it very uncomfortable for them. But if Pete Carroll thinks this is how I keep my job,
Yes.
because Russell Wilson might not want me to do that, well, there we go.
Spicy.
Play NFL Knockout, the free-to-play game presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Answer 15 questions about the Seahawks-Packers game to win exclusive prizes, including a VIP package to this year's Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. Visit NFL.com/knockout. Also get to stay at Mark Sessler's home with his wife and 2 children during that, for that.
That is absolutely news
Super
to me.
Bowl week.
Vikings, here we go. The Vikings are agents of chaos in an already turbulent world. I love the Vikings because, well, I used to like the Vikings about a month ago because I thought they were like sneaky, like very good, and we're gonna make a run in the NFC and be a deep playoff team. I don't see that as much anymore. I think they're so up and down, and there's so much kind of going on, whether it's on the sidelines or behind closed doors or even on the field, where they're just so manic that's going to end up costing them, and it's going to short-circuit their season. However, what makes them an agent of chaos is there's no way really to judge what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis. And this week, Greg, a game where they go to Los Angeles, I believe, to play the Chargers, it makes sense that they could win the game. It also makes sense that they could lose. All the range of outcomes are there.
These are two very unpredictable teams in general, which makes me question why I locked up the Chargers. But every game the Vikings are in against quality teams, like, they make it a good game. I know it was Cooper Rush, but they lost to the Cowboys, lost to the Ravens. That Panthers game was wild. The Cardinals game was a lot of fun. The Bengals game goes to overtime. Like, they've brought me a lot of entertainment. Maybe not Vikings fans, but if you're a casual fan, they are a lot of fun. I'm with you.
We all know Vikings fans, and it is I have the 2 friends that are consistently the people that are sending me texts on Sunday night. They are hot red. They're very annoyed. I would argue, though, that their level of chaos is almost lower because they're predictably chaotic every week. They've been consistently this chaotic team so often that you come to know what to expect. I think every one but one of their games have been one-score affairs, and they've had 3 overtime thrillers. They've lost 2 of them, so it's not been completely thrilling. This is one of the more interesting teams to watch, but I think extremely frustrating if you are from the state of Minnesota.
They've lost too much on defense. Anthony Barr is out this week. Michael Pierce is out, defensive tackle. And Patrick Peterson's still not back. Hunter. I think the defense, who has kind of held them up, is about to fall apart.
Another team.
That's why I
built
locked
on,
against them.
I think Mike Zimmer
and
seems
that's
so
good news
annoyed
for
every week.
And like in a less like fun subplot around this team, you have the Dalvin Cook situation. He told reporters that he has not been in contact with the NFL. He's playing against the Chargers, a domestic violence situation, the 2 parties saying differing things, but it is a situation to keep an eye on. He is the best player on that team, but very troubling allegations connected to him. Let's move on to the Lions. Greg.
Oh, Lions. Please get a win. Like, now. This is a week to do it. The Steelers, I feel like they could be frisky against the Steelers because I don't want to feel the weight of 0-17 on Thanksgiving. Like, wouldn't it be a bummer?
Who do they got at Thanksgiving?
It's Chicago. So you could flip it around on me. I'm arguing against myself and think, ooh, the Lions winning their first game on Thanksgiving.
I couldn't disagree more with you. That's the win. That's fun. Let's have some turkey and watch a huge celebration in Detroit.
I just got lambasted on my own topic. I just got the debate club or model Congress president just got taken behind the woodshed.
Still got a girlfriend every semester.
I hate the idea of them going 0-17, and they're not going to. I mean, they've been a little too frisky. They're too playful. They've taken teams into the 4th quarter.
Can we add a don't there? Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I mean,
please don't get a win. So 0-17
totally
does make it to Thanksgiving.
We have a real-time shift in the
Sorry,
lower
Mike.
third.
I think Dan Campbell, it's like these coaches lose teams when you have winless seasons. And Dan Campbell,
Typically, yes.
he does not feel like a lose the team type of guy. And I just, that would be the thing that'd be disappointing is I feel like there's finally a plan in Detroit for the first time since we've all known
Is
each
there?
other.
What is the plan?
I think there is because they've stockpiled.
I know he's a good rah-rah guy.
It's
but
not for this.
The coaching
it's not
staff's
for this
good. I think they've
season.
done a good job.
Their draft picks, they're in
crazy.
position to get a quarterback after this season. They don't have to ride into next year with Jared Goff.
I like the guy too. I like Campbell too, and it seems like they are doing the money ball or the, I wouldn't call it a tank. I think they're legitimately terrible, but they are looking to the future, and this is the season where you have to wear it. But they got to win some games. They got to win a game. They will. They'll be okay.
There's not that many easy spots on their schedule. I love them +9 this week. I think that's way too many points for the Steelers. I think this could come down to the end. This feels like a game they could win. Chicago on Thanksgiving, that's a game they could win, but there's not many.
I love it. And actually, if we want to alter it again, I like it. Not Thanksgiving. Let's do it the week before they go to Cleveland. Get a big W.
Why is that helpful?
I just think that would be really nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice,
it's like
heartwarming.
one downtrodden team beating the other team. They were an 0-16
And then,
team.
you unlock the Bud Light coolers, and everybody gets free beer.
That's very snarky on your part. I like the idea of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers having to deal with that chaos come Sunday night. See how that works?
All right, 1 minute on the Bears, Mark.
1 minute. All right, well,
got
how about
less
this?
than the Cowboys.
Ride, Captain, ride upon your mystery ship. You know that song. Blue Image from 1970. The next line is, be amazed at the friends you have here on your trip. How about your friend Justin Fields? By the way, the Bears, since the Reagan White House, have been like, hey, we're built around a linebacker. It's like, let's maybe, for the first time in eons, start to do it correctly. Just ride with this. You are now built around a quarterback, and I don't care about the coaching staff and all the rest of it. Embrace this. This is the new version of the Bears. Stop being what you've been for so long. You can feel the excitement in Bears fans for the first time since I was in 5th grade. You do not forbid yourself this journey. Keep going.
Okay, I like that. And we talked about it on the podcast this week that it was almost like the perfect outcome on Monday night where you have this type of fun excitement around Fields, who threw for almost 300 yards in the second half alone in that game. But you also lose, so you don't mess up your draft pick and you don't get ownership thinking, oh, maybe Matt Nagy should come back for another season. Riding this rail kind of could be good for their future.
I'm sitting this one out. Just the minute's over.
Well, you got buzzed.
I like that, though. The build around linebackers. It's true. That's depressing.
Well, it feels that way.
Mike Singletary is not walking through that door. Brian Urlacher is not walking through that door. NFC South walking in the door of this podcast. Now that's hosting. We're going to talk about all the teams in the South up next on the broadcast.
The door.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Let's move to the NFC South and talk about the defending champions coming off their bye week. I feel like the Bucs haven't played in 2 months, but they are playing this weekend. And oh wait, Tom Brady going to win MVP again, right? Like that's the MVP race is wide open, and Brady is the guy that when you look at the remaining schedule, you look at what he's done all year, you look how he's just playing at the top of his game at age 44. I think he's going to end up with like 40 touchdown, 10 interception, 4,900 yards for a 13-4 team, and they're going to give him his 4th MVP, and he'll deserve it.
I'm totally, when we say they're going to give it to him, I mean, I think you sound in support of it because I'm in support of it. Like, this probably
He's got to go do it. He's got to go do it.
But if he stays on pace, we'll never see this again in our lives until he does it next year. And I guess maybe if Kyler Murray just exploded down the stretch and they got the #1 seed, you'd see competition there potentially. Dak Prescott?
He's fighting the narrative battle that people aren't as excited to vote for Brady. I think I agree with you. We had to make predictions on NFL.com this week. I went with Tom Brady as the MVP. The thing that annoys me, though, is like I saw last night, and they're like, well, looks like the MVP is Tom Brady's now because Lamar Jackson was bad on Thursday Night Football. There's 9 games to go. Almost nothing that happened in the first half of the season is going to impact the MVP race. Well, it's going to just be about who plays best out of these 6 or 7 players down the stretch. So it's narrowed to like 7 or 8 players, and then who plays the best in the second half.
And somebody could take off and have a historic season statistically, and they'll win it. But the reason why it's setting up well for Brady is he's just the structure around him, the way he's playing. I'm very confident his numbers will be otherworldly and they will be a playoff team. So his box is checked. And then you need.
I think he's the best player right now. He really is.
But you need to win MVP. You also not to have any new shiny things around him saying, oh, we'd rather give him the award. If nobody really stands out, and so far nobody really has, it's just all working as it does in his life. In the direction of Tom Brady.
I like it, though. I sense a little bit of
He's coming for Peyton Manning.
Hesitation from you.
The last thing Peyton Manning has is the most MVPs ever. Although I think he got 4.5 if you count that McNair one. So it'd be tough for Brady to get there. He'd only be getting his 4th.
There's zero hesitation. I'm just stating that's the way things are setting up. Does he need more good things? I don't know.
Well, that's a fair question.
Mark on the Saints.
Never satisfied.
How about this? Saints, bigger taste of Taysom or Hill no?
Nice.
I like it.
Very good.
I mean, I just want to see what happens.
Good,
they had Trevor Siemian throw the ball 70 times over the last 2 weeks. And so there's trust in Trevor Siemian, which I kind of dig that from Sean Payton. And there was, I think, 3 touches for Hill a week ago. I wonder if that's Sean Payton. Every week he's kind of doing something to trick us out. We're thinking, oh, Hill's not part of this. Here come the Titans. Maybe he will be. Or we kind of lost some of our verve and spirit for Taysom Hill at this point, which, I mean, I was probably the leader of that fan club for a bit there.
I think they should use him more, and I think they will. He was coming off a concussion, and I think Siemian, if you watch throw to throw, played well. And so it was a strange game. He intended to use Taysom more. I like just the play on words, though, Mark. I mean,
really well done.
I noticed this week you were the last person to put all of like the graphic ideas in there, because I checked in after Thursday Night Football to put in those teams, and I noticed you can see Mark was in the document at that point. But it's worth it if you're coming up with gold like this. Like, it's worth it.
Saints fans definitely need to know the process behind how this gets done. But
we got 2 hours.
I had my own sheet that I was finalizing before I dropped it in.
Hell no.
I think. Listen, Sean Payton's really good at his job, and he knows. Even though he's he is in a bad situation because he's got Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill. These are the guys that are assigned with taking his team back to the Super Bowl. That's a tough hand to be dealt. But at the same time, if you do have 2 quarterbacks and you could put that in the head of your opponent on a week-to-week basis, he's going to continue to mess with the minds of their opponents because he's good at what he does.
Another backup making a lot of money, playing less than we expected.
What, Taysom?
Yeah, it's just like these guys have the work.
He's getting banged around on inside runs, though. So he's earning it. Alvin Kamara might not play in this game, which is huge, because if you just look at the players who are starting on their offense, the skill position players, including Trevor Siemian, I think you can argue this is one of the worst group of skill position players, the least accomplished in the last decade. I really do. Like, without Kamara, what is left here?
They're
Sean
also
Payton, Coach of the Year, baby.
They're catching the Titans at a very, very bad time that does not seem to set up well, but we'll see. Mark, Falcons.
Falcons, how about this? Deal with it, Danny boy.
Oh, we're back.
Arthur Smith is spicy and fresh. We've had a weekly debate on whether the Falcons offense is actually fun to watch if Arthur Smith's program and scheme is taking form. I just think it last week against a good Saints defense that we thought this is a defense that really would take the Falcons and kind of squish them. And instead, an epic comeback down the stretch using creativity, Cordero Patterson, players that have risen up that were failed elsewhere. I think Arthur Smith is on to something here. They're 4-4. I'm not calling them another berserker team, but they kind of are.
Deal with it, Danny boy.
Yeah, the Falcons don't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
They're in the playoffs if the season ended today.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's a stupid thing if the season ended today. They are a 7-10, 8-9 team. That's fine. The offense is. I like Cordell Patterson. What they brought, what Arthur Smith has been able to do there. Matt Ryan, when he's protected, is fine, but nothing changes. All right, get back to me on this subplot after they're at Dallas and home against the Pats.
All right.
If they move the ball with regularity, I will do a mea culpa on this program and the podcast about how they are spicy, they are sexy. Arthur Smith is the man.
If it goes poorly, you get back to me because that's how this. You came at me last week.
Well, I'll remember now. This is good because I'll also remember. You said deal with it, Danny boy, and he's like looking. Mark's looking at you. They even go to like kind of the big wide shot, and you're just like looking down at his computer. You're icing him out. You're Don Draper. You're Don Draper in the elevator, being like, I don't even think about it.
I am totally immune to the head games at this point. Dan knows that he took a massive shaped L on this one last week, and we'll see where it goes.
The head game to go.
Let's see where we're at in 2 weeks when you apologize.
No, I won't be.
When you are bowing your head in shame for your take.
None of those
on
things.
Television.
None of those bullet points will be occurring.
I like that he thinks it's head games that Dan was looking down.
I was looking at our rundown, literally, but that's fine if that's the way it is. Finally, Greg, on the Panthers.
I want to be like the Panthers. I think we can all take a lesson from the Panthers and be like the Panthers this week and make amends with a former love by offering them money. Like you wronged someone, it was a tough breakup, and then just be like, hey, here's some money. Are we cool now? Because that's basically what happened. Like this was an apology contract. This was like that Mark Sanchez contract. Right. Remember that the Jets gave him? They were
absolutely.
It was just like, we're going to give you extra money. Just come back and be with us.
It's like, we're going to give you money and you want a place to stay? Come stay with us for exactly 3 months.
Yeah, that's fine. Get your career restarted. They know what's going on.
You know what it is? It's you dumped your significant other. You looked and said, wow, they're not doing so well. And you're like, I feel kind of bad. Here, come back. Here's some money. Get on your feet. You could stay here for a few months. That's kind of what I see here.
Here's $5 million.
The Panthers, by the way, what a mess that we got to this place. Remember, David Tepper bought the team. And then Matt Rule was hired as a coach, and their first move was, new era of Panthers football. Get Cam Newton the hell out of here. We're going to build something. And then it's like 2 years later, please, Cam, save us from embarrassment in the season.
I think we
need to get back to respectability at quarterback.
That makes Greg's point, though, because in this scenario where you're paying, I have a few former loves that I paid a lot of money to back in the day. I don't need to pay more. I'm just saying, it's like the girlfriends are expensive.
Like litigation or...
Wait, Greg, this is literally your point, but you're saying the whole thing is confused because a friend that later in life brings a person in distress into their circle and tries to pay them. It's as confusing as this situation with Cam Newton. I cannot believe they went back up this alley, and they were saying that there's cheers at practice, so maybe the players like.
And it's great for social media. I really do think it's David Tepper knowing now, after 2 years, what Cam means to this franchise and realizing he's going to have a relationship with Cam for the next 20 years as like the guy that comes back to the stadium. It's just like, all right, I'll throw him a couple extra million.
That's accurate.
No good deed goes unpunished. It's not a saying that I like, but it's true. Don't give friends money.
Well, that's fair.
This isn't even friends.
I think he's going to play better, though. He's going to play better than people think.
Then, it ruins the relationship. It's tough.
Tricky.
Right. Coming up next, listen, help your friends. Be a good friend, but be careful when you get money involved.
This is old loves. Very different.
Just give it to them. Don't expect it back, necessarily.
Okay.
If you're cool with that, that's fine.
Up next, more surprises. Second half surprises. We chatted up on the broadcast. All right, boys. Let's take a quick break here to talk about some second half surprises. Give us something, Greggy.
All right, I will give a surprise that should bring a smile to Mark Sessler's face, that the Browns will be the #1 seed in the AFC by the time this season's over. 2 games back of the Titans right now, so they need a little help. But I think the Browns are coming together. I still like the roster. I like the coaches, and I think they're going to be great down the stretch.
I like the optimism. I think a lot needs to happen for that to occur, Greg, but I'm on your party line.
Okay. We all picked them this week.
I feel
was
the
a little
same
surprised
way.
by that.
I don't know about the #1 seed in the AFC, but
I had to go
they're about
big
to get
with
super
surprise.
hot.
Yeah, it was surprise.
I think a lot of people, it's like everybody was on them in August. They're going to be on them going into December.
Okay.
Mark, how about you?
How about this? The Dolphins make the playoffs to make my August pick, which I made them a wild card team, look great. And here's the thing. They had the Jets, the Panthers, the Giants, and then the Jets again over the next 4
Well,
weeks.
that's 2 losses. You got the Jets on each side of it.
Not in my world, it isn't.
Okay.
I think they could take all those games. If you get this version of what they were last night, and there is reason to think it's possible because it looks like what they were last year. They were spicy, they were aggressive, and they're taking quarterbacks they play and putting them into a world of hurt. Keep doing that to a bunch of ham and egger quarterbacks that are upcoming. I like it.
Their defense has been good since the bye week, 3 straight weeks. It's not just a 1-week thing. They're back. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
They are not going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be,
6-11.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I have to
Alright.
do the math.
Well, I tried.
All right, I will go with another team with a bad record that I think is going to make noise. The New York Giants, the G-Men, are going to be in the playoff race come December, and I understand. All right, Dan, go all the way in. Say they're a playoff team. I'm not gonna, and you can't make me.
Plus, December doesn't mean much anymore. You got to go late December, really.
All right, fine, late December, whatever you want to see it. Where they are right now is 3-6, and they have a bye. As we talked about earlier, a bye is very important for this team to get healthy. And then they got the Bucks on the road Monday Night Football. That's going to be tough. They could be 3-7, which is going to put them in a deep hole. But who knows? You never know. Primetime football. I think they're going to be about a 500 team in December, and in the NFC, they'll be okay.
I think in the world of surprises, you just delivered a bombshell that Greg and I are recovering from.
They're only 1 win back. They're in the playoff race right now. How about that?
Let's get out.
I think I nailed that. Coming up next, should this man be vibing this weekend? Aaron Rodgers. Does he deserve vibage? Showed his whole butt.
Sure.
Showed his whole butt. Let's talk.
Skywalker shirt.
Up next, Weekend Vibes. Weekend Vibes. Get us going, Greggy.
All right, my vibe is just some appreciation for Troy Aikman. Let's hear it for Troy. I mean, he's become a bigger part of our lives.
No. It's let's hear it for the Troy.
Yeah, let's do it. That's just a great little lower third right there. We get him twice a week now, Thursday Night Football. I love it when he's critical of quarterbacks. I know Packers fans might disagree. I just love Troy Aikman.
I like Buck, too. How about you, Mark?
Way into it. I know what Aaron Rodgers, he had a very, very tough week here, but he's wearing this Star Wars Rise of Skywalker sweatshirt, and none other than Luke Skywalker himself. Mark Hamill basically said of all the sweatshirts he could have won, he had to take full responsibility in that one. You can't be feeling good if you're a Star Wars fan, Aaron
You were
Rodgers.
going to wear that T-shirt for this show, I just remembered, you said. You have a Rise of Skywalker shirt. I didn't really get what that meant. It meant something, though.
Finally, Robert Hunt, one of the great plays of the season. We saw the guard for the Dolphins. How about this, John Boy? Great baseball follow, but this was nice. What if we take this, like the Jerry West style, Robert Hunt, new logo for the NFL. It's time for an updated look for the whole
At least
league.
for the rest of the year, everyone would be into it. It would be hard to explain into future generations.
Don't need to.
No,
Jerry West is the NBA guy. Nobody needs to know who it is.
It's understood for the rest of humanity.
All right, everybody, enjoy the football. See us next week on the broadcast.